things are going to go worse for Donald over time. He's not going to be able to keep the Republicans in line on Capitol Hill the way he has. We're already seeing divisions appearing, and they have such thin margins, they can't have any divisions if they're going to carry out Donald's agenda.
Hi, I'm Jo Crawford, and welcome to Times Radio's Trump Report. Today, I'm joined by David Cay Johnston, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, professor at Rochester Institute of Technology, and author of an array of books on Donald Trump. Thank you for joining me on the Trump Report today.
Glad to be with you.
So, Elon Musk has announced that he's leaving his role at Doge. What was your initial thoughts to hearing this?
Well, he, by law, could only stay 120 days. So this was a limit already passed. Secondly, there is no Department of Government Efficiency. Only Congress can create such things. This was a fiction the Trump administration foisted on the public. And we are now finding out that it didn't save any money of any consequence, and probably will cost the American economy enormous amounts of money because of things like cutting back on weather reporting, which is vital to people in construction and all sorts of other activities, including knowing that there are tornadoes coming, something you don't have in England very often, but middle of America has all the time. So I think it's a good thing that this non-elected official is out of there. And unfortunately, many of the people he brought in are still there, and they're spreading their nonsense and lies, like, claiming they're 200-year-old people getting Social Security because they don't understand that when there's a birth date put in that's obviously fake, no payments are made. It's a very inexpensive way to avoid fraud, but they had turned it on its head and called it fraud. And they did that in numerous government agencies.
I mean, when Musk first started out with Doge, he hoped to cut around $2 trillion from the annual federal budget. And then that figure was then revised back down again to 1 trillion, and then back down again to 160 billion. I mean, do you think that Musk has come to recognize the scale of the tasks that he set out to achieve? Especially when, we had Trump, he made large areas of this budget off limits as well.
There's this idea people have, there must be massive waste, fraud, and abuse. And for example, we spend over $1 trillion a year on the Pentagon, but every single quartermaster, that's the bill-paying sergeant at military bases, will tell you they don't have enough money to do all the things they're supposed to do. There is no evidence of massive waste, fraud, and abuse. In fact, at USAID, the Agency for International Development, which does humanitarian aid like food and medicine, the last time the Inspector General found a significant problem was 20 years ago. They've been looking ever since. So what is one of the first things Donald Trump did when he set up Doge? They fired a whole bunch of the inspectors general who had something in common. Most of them were investigating Elon Musk's companies for violating his federal contracts. So you could also look at this as a sheer corruption move by Musk. I want more government contracts, and the way to get them and keep them is to stop any accountability for my not following the rules.
And yesterday we did hear Musk. He said that he was disappointed with Trump's big, beautiful bill. That's what Trump was calling it. And Elon says that it was increasing budget deficit, not decreasing it. Do you think that this was the final straw for Musk?
Well, we don't know how much of a financial entanglement exists between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Donald doesn't let people outshine him, and yet he's let Musk do that, which suggests that he is beholden to Musk in some way we're not seeing. And of course, Donald refuses to file his legally required ethics statement that lists his assets and liabilities. Not that you can trust what he puts down on those things, as I and other people have shown. But Musk also needs to focus on his business. His car sales are tanking in Europe and the United States. The Chinese company BNY's electric cars are outselling his. And if you look at a Tesla, they're all outdated models. They're except for the Cybertruck, they're 25-year-old models, and everybody else has moved on. So I think Musk needs very much to pay attention to his business. He's borrowed billions of dollars against his businesses, and he has conditions in his loans that he has to maintain certain levels of net worth, cash flow, etc., or banks can call his notes.
How do you think Trump feels about all of this?
Oh, Donald has been humiliated by a whole series of things, by Doge's ineffectiveness and the trouble it's caused, by the ruling of a specialized American federal court that he doesn't have the power to do all of these tariff deals. And what you're seeing is Trump's administration falling apart because in the first administration, he was surrounded by people who were reasonably competent and were loyal to the Constitution. This time around, he is surrounded by people who are loyal to Donald alone. They don't care about the Constitution. They make that very clear. We need to remove all judges who challenge anything Donald does. That judicial coup, as you noted, that Stephen Miller, Trump's minister of hate, called it. And things are going to go worse for Donald over time. He's not going to be able to keep the Republicans in line on Capitol Hill the way he has. We're already seeing divisions appearing, and they have such thin margins, they can't have any divisions if they're going to carry out Donald's agenda.
Musk has said that for himself and also for Doge, that it's become this whipping boy for everything, that it's taking the blame for things that it shouldn't be taking the blame for, as he said. How do you think this is going to work out for Trump now if he doesn't have Musk and representing Doge for him?
Poor me. What's Donald's basic view of the world is, who the victims are here? They're rich white men. They're the ones who are the victims of racism and discrimination. And it's laughable on its face. And in the case of what Doge has done, Donald now has all of this disruption. We have members of Congress who are Republicans from solid red districts in places like Iowa, which is farming and factory. And when they hold a town meeting, people scream and yell at these people and say, "What's wrong with you?" Because they see their Social Security checks, if you're older like I am, not being reliably delivered. They're going to cut health care for poor people in America. And furthermore, they want to borrow trillions of additional dollars to give tax cuts to the richest people, part of which are being financed by taking from children, the disabled, the elderly, and the sick, because they can't fight back. And yet they call themselves Christians. They insist we're putting in a Christian government. This is just, you couldn't make this up. No one would believe you. If you wrote a novel about what's happening today 20 years ago, I assure you, no one would buy your book.
And let's talk about that US federal court ruling about blocking Trump's tariffs. They have said that it's been imposed illegally. Trump has filed an appeal. How do you think this is going to move forward?
Well, this court, 3 judges, one of whom Trump appointed, did something very interesting in their 49-page opinion. They basically wrote a primer on here is how trade and tariff law works. And they clearly were expecting this to go before the U.S. Supreme Court. Those are generalist judges. They don't have expertise in narrow areas like trade law. And Donald will appeal. He has to go first to the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals unless the Supreme Court agrees to take it directly. And he will lose. He will simply lose. There's no way. He might get 2 votes from Justices Alito and Thomas, but that's the best he can hope for. And then he will, of course, scream that, well, we need to take away from judges this authority, because Donald believes, and I've been saying this for 14 years of the 37 years I've known him, Donald believes that as president, he can do anything he wants. There are no limits. He is our dictator, and he's behaving that way, and he's about to get slapped down. And when the Supreme Court starts slapping him down, he won't know what to do because there's no knowledge. This is a man who didn't know what happened in Pearl Harbor in 1941. He thought that the British were seizing our airfields in the War of 1812. I don't think people appreciate how appallingly ignorant Donald is.
And my final question is, what would you say has been your favorite or standout moment of Musk during his time at Doge, if you had one? It sort of feels like a character who's left one of your favorite TV series and you've got to sum up one of their favorite moments. What would you say?
Well, he's had the exact opposite effect of what I think he intended. standing around with a chainsaw on stage and in the demonstrations of buffoonery, they woke up a whole lot of people who support Trump and who were like, wait a minute, if my Social Security check doesn't come, you're telling me not to worry about it? Used to be you could call Social Security in a matter of minutes, very efficient staff would answer. Now people report holding online multiple days for many hours till they can reach someone only to get disconnected. He has made many people realize government actually provides useful services to people. And wholesale firing of people who are developing vaccines and dealing with job safety and processing old age checks or disability checks for people on Social Security, that requires staff. You can't just eliminate those people with no results. So he's been very effective against what he and Donald claim they need to do.
David, thank you so much for joining me on the Trump Report today.
Take care.